Hi YouTube, how you doing? It's been a while. First video of 23. Let's take a look at what I've been up to. Gallow Dark, the Killteam, new kind of scenery, this interconnecting stuff. You've seen videos about it before. Everybody's done it. I'm a little bit late to the party, but I wanted to make a reference for myself of how I painted up mine so that I can have consistency across my set. So hopefully this will be useful to you. Thank you if you've subscribed. While I've been away, the subscriber count's going up a little bit, so that's great. If you do get some value from this, let me know down in the comments. Hit a like, hit a sub, share it with somebody, that'd be fantastic. Gonna have some more videos going forward, a little bit less than once a week. Again, I just don't have time realistically, so hopefully it'll be higher value though. And yeah, this is just my hobby journey, so let's get into it, have a look how I painted up my terrain, and hopefully it'll help you somehow. Alright, I'll see you later guys. Right, mask off all your connection points, I'd strongly recommend that. Get some cheap rattle can primer from the pound shop. Paint the entire things black, and I'm using cheap acrylic craft paint here, and I'm just stippling it across the entire kit. Leave black in the deepest recesses. If you've not done stippling before, have a look on YouTube, there's loads of tutorials. If it's something that you really want me to do a tutorial on, let me know down in the comments and I'll happily put one together. So just do this across the entire kit, and that's step one out of the way, nice and fast. Okay, once you've got that base coat down, next thing we're going to do is dry brush the entire set with a bright silver. Any silver will do. I like Vallejo aluminium. I'm going to use a very cheap, nice soft makeup brush, again from the pound shop, and we're just going to dry brush over the entire terrain set. Doesn't matter what direction, just make sure you're hitting the corners. That's all you need to do. It'll add the nice wear effect. Super simple. First optional step that's going to level up the terrain set a little bit. All I'm going to do is use another colour, and I'm going to pick out certain details. Specifically, I'm going to use this to pick out the top parts of the walls and the column panels, just to add in that feeling of where the ceiling would be, give it that claustrophobic feel, and just pick out some other details like around where the pipes would connect. Doesn't take much time to do. Grab a big brush, water down your paint, use it as a filter over the top so you're still getting that metallic shining through all the dry brushing we've done and the stippling. Nice and easy, just gives a little bit more variance to it and brings the entire thing together. If you do it, crack on, doesn't take too long, and we can get on to the more interesting steps. Okay, nice and simple so far. What I'm going to do next is use a contrast paint. I'm just going to take a red, I think it's Flesh Terror's red I used here. I'm just going to pick out a few details on each of the wall and column panels, around some valves, the consoles, that kind of thing. Just hit them with a thin layer of the paint, everything will still shine through, super simple, nice and fast, big brush, just be neat, job's a good one, crack on. Okay, so we're picking up some speed now. What we want to do is add some variance to each of the wall panels and the columns. Pick out a couple of details. I've gone with the dials and the computer interfaces, and I've picked a colour that's complementary to my colour palette that I've already started with. So a gold in this case, and I'm just doing a more selective dry brush on those details to pick them out. Work your way through the entire terrain set. It's not going to take you long, and that should start to really make things pop, and we can get to the more interesting detailing. Might have forgot to record myself painting the pipes, but I did that. Didn't take too long. I think it added a little bit of something. You don't have to do it, it's another optional step. So you do you. Right, onto the most time consuming part of this entire thing. Base coating all of the parts that we want to have the OSL effect with white. Yeah, there's no way around it. If you really want the colours to pop, you need a nice light base coat. So I'm using a white, thin down. I did multiple coats, all of the panels, all of the columns, all of the bits of scatter terrain twice. It took a while. It's not overly hard. Just get yourself a reasonably decent brush, nice fine point. Make sure your paint's nice and thin, and paint in all of the white. I did the lights, the screens, anywhere that I wanted light to be shining from. I gave it a undercoat with white. Yeah, have fun with that. I know I did. Not. Okay, skulls. We need to paint them. There's lots of them. You should have base coated them in white. If you've not, get back and base coat those as well. I probably should have said that in the previous step, but you should have seen me painting them. I'm going to use some Citadel Skeleton Horde just to base coat the skulls. They don't have to be overly detailed because, well, terrain, but I want to pick them out because they are there. So just make sure you get across the entire selection of wall panels and columns and hit them with some Skeleton Horde. If you don't have Skeleton Horde or any contrast paints, you can just use a bone colour or a bit of brown wash. That's fine too. Going to get the same effect. It's not like you're going to be inspecting them. Crack on with it. Choices. Pick a colour, something that you like, and paint all of the dials and screens that colour. I went with the green, Citadel's Tesseract Glow. It's a nice, bright, vibrant green. It's going to pop against everything else that's nice, dark and gritty, especially when we get to the weathering later on. Again, there's no way about this. There's a lot of them to do. It's easy. Just take your time, get a nice, decent pointed brush, and crack on with it. Just plow through it. It's going to take you a little while, but not too long. It's not too bad at all. If you've done that white base coating that we sorted out earlier on, it's really going to pop. Work your way through it. Be as clean and neat as you can, and you'll have something that's looking, at this point, really, really playable. Okay, so we're getting there now. Let's get some weathering done. First thing I'm going to do is get some verdigris going on, where the water's been running down the wall, kind of collecting it and giving it that tealy kind of looking verdigris effect. Now you can use whatever you want. There's loads of products out there. In this instance, I'm using Citadel's Nacalac, whatever it's called, oxide, watered down with a significant amount of water, just so it runs into the crevices, and I'm just painting it on where I think it would look good. Usually on the lower parts of the scenery, but you know, you do you. I hit all of the rivets because seemingly I like to torture myself, but you know, whatever you think looks good, do that. It's a great product, and it's an easy step, but it does take a while. So yep, sit back, relax, smash through it. It's going to take you about an hour. Crack on. More weathering, this time rust. I'm going to use Dirty Down's rust. I know there's some controversy around this. People don't want to buy other products, but I want this to match my previous sets and the pipes that I've done, so I'm going to use it. Now, there's loads of guides out there on how to use Dirty Down rust, so I won't go into that. What I'm going to do is I use a couple of layers. I definitely thin it down with water. That really helps kind of bring out a more natural look to my eye. I like completely dry. You can use an air dryer if you want, but because we're doing such a large amount of panels in one go, by the time I get to the end, the start of it's dry, and then I put another layer on, and you can then either rub it off or dab it with some more water if you want some more vibrant oranges going on. Of course, there are other ways you can do this. You could get some brown paint, thin it down, put that into the corners of crevices where you want the rust to form, then do the same with some orange. You could either dry brush or stipple that in place, and then hit that with a metallic over the top. Whatever you want to do, that's fine. You could even use weathering pigments. Just get it on, get it consistent, whatever looks good to your eye. Okay, everything's dried and I'm back at the studio desk. Great, this is looking really good to my eye now. I'm loving the direction it's going in. And we can see that the Dirty Downs has dried and we've got that nice variation in rust, and it's really starting to pop. It looks like a worn piece of a derelict Space Hulk. Okay then, what's next? Let's tackle the OSL. Now, I'm going to use an airbrush, so that's probably going to mean a lot of people are going to dislike it and unfollow, but you can do it with a brush. Obviously, if you've got an airbrush, you should use it, perhaps. If not, then you can do it with a brush. I do have videos on how to do OSL with brushes. Do check those out. I'll leave a link in the description. Let's crack on. Okay, going to use some white ink. I'm using Liquitex white here, thin down through the airbrush, and I'm just going to hit all of the light sources where I want the OSL to appear. Basically going to do a quick halo around it, thin layers, and then I'm going to come back in with the airbrush and hit the center of the light source with another spritz. Just give it another white coat, and that will really help sell the color effect when we glaze over the top of it with another color. There's a fair few lights to do. I'm going to do all of the lights, all of the bulkheads, and all of the skull control panel things where there's a small LED in the rise. You don't have to do that. I'm also going to do the end of the cables that are broken to give it like a sparking electrical effect, and all of the plasma coils. Took me a little while, just work your way through. If you are going to do it with a brush, then that's going to take you a little bit longer, but it's still totally doable. So for the rest of the OSL on these tiles, what I'm going to use is some inks, simple acrylic inks. I use these Dahlia and Brownie, various colours. They flow really well through the airbrush and give the kind of effect that I want. So, but you can use anything, standard acrylic paints. Again, if you're dry brushing or doing it with a brush, there's videos on that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit each of the light sources and just basically filter over the top of that white that we laid down in the previous step. And then I'm going to come back in with some white where the light will be brighter and build the effect up back and forth between those two steps depending on what the colour is. And here we see me doing just that, coming back in with a brush, thinned it down white paint. In fact, I'm just using the ink from the airbrush pot and I'm carefully painting in inside of where I want the light to be brighter. You could do this with the airbrush, but I just find it easier and faster to do it with the brush. And then I'm going to flip back and do basically the previous step with the ink again and build that up until I'm happy with the OSL looking like it would naturally or a little bit more exaggerated to give it that hyper sci-fi look. Take your time with this. You don't want to mess it up if you are using an airbrush. It can be quite difficult to fix at this point, so just relax, have fun in the process. Final part of the process then, we've flip-flopped backwards and forwards between using the airbrush and the ink to build up that OSL effect, going back each time with the airbrush and just layering over another thin glaze of the colour. You can do this 2, 3, 4 times. You don't have to go over the top with it. And then the last step is, again, thin down white ink, wait for that to dry totally, and then just glaze on either some contrast paint or I used an ink, thin down a little bit, and that will just give you the brightest, hottest parts of your light source and really sell that OSL effect. Now, you don't have to do this, you don't have to go to town as much as I did, but I really like that over-the-top effect that you achieve doing it this way. It does take a little bit of time, but hopefully you're having fun doing it. It's quite nice and relaxing. And once we've done that, that's pretty much all I did. It looked like a long process, but overall it didn't take that long. And I think you'll agree, it looks pretty good for the amount of effort we've put in. And when we put it all together, as you've already seen at the start of the video, it really, really sells. Put that on top of the nice board, or perhaps you've got your own board that you've made, and it really does help make a really great atmospheric game, and you can enjoy all of those boarding actions on Killteam, or perhaps you're playing full fat 40k and you've got a nice fast tabletop ready terrain set, ready to rock. Well, if you enjoyed this video, let me know down in the comments. If you did get some value out of it, please do subscribe if you've not already, and follow me on Instagram. Right, I'll see you next time, guys. Thanks for watching.